Well, hey everyone, it's Mark out and about, and I am so excited today because in our studio, I think it sort of speaks for itself. Mr. Cabot Rea, everyone, is here.
Please keep it down in here, everybody. Just control yourselves. It's great being back here. So many memories, Mark, of the years in television when we would do things in conjunction with SNY, WSNY, and Dino, and the whole gang, Stacy, and so it's great to be back with you again.
Yeah, and we were reminiscing before we started of all the fun projects that we worked on. But you have a big project coming up starting this weekend.
Yes.
Running through the 22nd of September. Kiss Me, Kate.
Kiss Me, Kate. In 1949, it was the first ever musical given a Tony Award. It was written and first performed in 1948 by Cole Porter, is the man behind the music of the show. But it's a really funny, cute play within a play scenario, and they're rewriting The Taming of the Shrew by Shakespeare, but they're kind of modernizing some things. But it's not just the characters in that Shakespeare show; it's the characters that are putting it on. And the tension between an ex-wife and an ex-husband who are playing the lead roles in that show. So it's a lot of fun.
Can you relate?
Well, I'm not an ex-husband yet. It's been 41 years. I guess I'm going to ride this one out. But no, I can't relate to that part. I can relate to the tension on...
Just checking. Calm down, everyone.
No announcements here.
So this is at the Northland Performing Arts Center, September 13th through 22nd.
That's right, Mark.
You got it. And tickets, $15 to $25 depending on your age.
Right.
So,
and I think it's a very good value for that. And that's part of what was behind Kent Stuckey, who owns that theater, and he's in the show. They always wanted to try to make it as affordable as they possibly can. So seniors are like $20, it's 15, I think, for even younger people. 25 is the top ticket. And I think that's pretty good. It's, the cast is very talented. They're a group of pretty much younger people in their 20s. A few of us a little bit older, but they work hard every night. It's got a lot of dance in it. It's got some humor in it, some gangsters in it. It's really got a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And for those that don't know where the Northland Performing Arts Center is, where is it, Cabot?
It is on Morse Road. It's over right there at Tamarack and Morse. If you all know where the the big Menards is on Morse Road. What they did was they took the Penny's store. When they tore down the Northland Mall, they kept the shell of the old Penny's. And they took that shell and they kind of transformed it into this theater / multi-purpose facility that's used for many things. But it's, as we know, that area of the city has, had its heyday and is now trying to reinvent itself. This is one of those pieces that Kent and the people that build it were hoping that could kind of help revitalize at least an art culture to a degree in that area. Mm-hmm. Right across the street from Krieger Ford, as a matter of fact. So
how do you get wrapped up into this? Because I do want to go back and talk about your NBC 4 days, obviously, and I even want to go back to Otterbein briefly. But
I hope you're going to be editing this thing. This could be 4 hours.
Yeah. And you can tell us what they served at the Last Supper, too. I don't care. But
you're saying I'm that old. Thank you so much, Mark. Well, I know wine was involved. That's about all I know at this minute. I haven't really reviewed it lately.
Well, I say it with love because we all truly love you. So how do you make the transition from television into performing arts?
Well, some people say I acted like a news anchor for 30 years. It was the best acting job I ever did. I don't know about that, actually. I learned a lot in the business, and I think I grew in that business, and I enjoyed it a lot. But, when you get away from that and you get away from... you're fighting the clock. You have a structure, a schedule. You have a lot of things, and then suddenly it's all gone. Mm-hmm. You have to kind of reinvent yourself a little bit. You have to reinvent what your day looks like and what you can do to fill that time. But you don't want to be overcommitted. You don't want to go back to all the stresses that went with that job previously. But you also want to have things to do. And so I always loved music. I was a music major at Otterbein, music education. And I did a lot of musical theater at Otterbein. And that was something that I went back and got my master's in music at Ohio State in 2003, thinking I might one day return and teach or return and sing. And so thankfully, my voice has held up for an old man fairly well. And I've been allowed to go back to that love a little bit and put that in the basket that now fills my time between travel, little volunteerism, do Meals on Wheels every other week. Things like that you fill your time with. But there are some days that are slow, Mark. I'm not going to tell you. There are days I grab my Kohl's cash, and that's the high point of my day.
Well, at least you remember your Kohl's cash, because I always forget those darn coupons and they expire.
They do. I always go the day after they expire. And some Kohl's I can sweet talk them into, others they're like, oh, no, sorry, sir. Okay, well, thank you. Obviously a Channel 10 viewer all those years.
Do you play the Cabot Rea card?
No, not at all. Not anymore.
Not Tim Hortons or anything like, hey.
No, I don't do that. Sometimes people still recognize me. I always think that's great when they do, but a lot of people say, so are you retired? And I said, thanks for watching. It's been 3.5 years. But no, it's been great. I'm glad I've stayed in Central Ohio, because it always was my home. And so it's been fun to be able to interact again with a lot of people that used to watch and so forth.
So what year did you graduate from Otterbein College? Or university, Otterbein University.
But it was college then.
It was college then.
Old Otterbein, our college, we sing to thee today. It's not
true.
Otterbein, our university. Anyway, I graduated way back in 78.
Okay.
It was a golden era. 1978. So much to remember back to. Gas prices were 50 cents a gallon. Maybe you remember that. But no, it was great. It was a great era at Otterbein. We had a wonderful theater department, music and theater, and
It still does,
and absolutely. And that's where I met my wife, and a lot of positive things about Otterbein in my life.
So, how long from your graduation at Otterbein University to NBC4?
Well, I went to Newark, Ohio. My wife and I both went over there to teach. I taught junior high music, choral music, music education. Heather went to teach at one of the elementary schools over there. So we were there for 9 years. But after about 6 years, Heather came home with our first child. We were living on my one teaching salary. And so I began knocking on the door at Channel 4. Trying everything I could think of. I did have a contact there. My late good friend Rob Case was working as their helicopter pilot, and so he kind of helped me also eventually get my first interview, which didn't go that well because the guy said, I can't hire a music teacher from Newark to come in here and work as a sportscaster. That's what I wanted to do. But he left. The guy that replaced him, his wife was from Newark, so I worked on that card quite a bit, and I just kept pounding, and I had a good friend of mine record me on a little VHS tape doing a sportscast. I laugh at that now. I show that when I speak to groups of my homemade sportscast, and then I sent that in, and I just kept pounding on the door, and I'm very thankful. I believe God helped open a door for me there. Eventually, I just kept pounding, and they let me come in, and they hired me just spot duty on the weekend as a third string sportscaster. First time on the air was December 85, and kind of from there the story unfolded. So it was a great, wonderful 30 years at Channel 4. And then I'm always grateful to them for giving a music teacher a chance.
So really, it was timing and persistence,
yes,
would you say?
Exactly it was. And isn't that generally what the combination is? It's timing, and it's staying after it, even when things, when the first news director says, I got to live with these people. I can't hire you in there, coming into Columbus, Ohio. So, but I'm very grateful it worked out the way it did.
Yeah. So you if I have my timeline correct, you transitioned from sports to more of like I know in the business, sometimes we call him the danger boy.
Yeah, out and about.
But you were on the streets. You were doing the live stand-ups, and hey, I'm at this community festival.
My favorite 5 years, actually. Now that I can tell you that, were the years that I did live at 5:30. It was during that time I worked a lot with Sunny 95. We partnered with for a lot of things, including There'll Always Be a Christmas. The first year Phil Wallace wrote that. We made a video down at City Hall with him directing the Walnut Ridge Choir and all these local people like Chief James Jackson and Mayor Reinhardt. And at that time, it was Mike and Jane in the morning. That was that was pre Dino and Stacy. But it was a beautiful thing that we videotaped it, we blended it, we sent it overseas to all the troops from Central Ohio that were over there getting ready for Persian Gulf 1. So I had those were great 5 years doing that 5:30 show. But yeah, from there then they wanted me to come in and start filling in on the news desk. That wasn't the direction that I was thinking. I was wanting to be sports when I came in, but
Really?
you go where the doors open eventually, and so I wound up then in news, filling in anchoring, and then I took over for Doug Adair in '94, I believe it was, full time. I first time started to sit with Colleen was in '92. We did a little show called the 7 o'clock News at that time, which is now returned, by the way.
Back with a vengeance.
Everything comes back again. There is nothing new under the sun.
Yeah. So when you are starting to fill that anchor position, the first few weeks, is it more of like a trial? Are they sort of feeling you out? Are you sort of feeling it out?
Yes. I think so. And they put me on like the noon show. They didn't bring me in and throw me right into the 11 p.m. newscast. We worked that, and then for a short period of time, and it was a rough period, I would do the 5:30 at 6. I would get in my car and fly back to the station and to do the 7. The 7 was still a minor newscast, so I would fly back and do that at first with Angela Pace before she left for Channel 10, and then Colleen came in after Angela left. But yeah, those were rough because I'd be rushing in. My hair's all a mess. I've been cutting down Christmas trees over in Alexandria, Ohio, and then I'm on the air, and that was a little rough. But that's how the transition happened, and it happened to the more minor newscast, and then moved from there. And again, very grateful for the succession, and I had a couple of years with Doug Adair to kind of watch his style, and that was very helpful.
Well, it just seems so natural, and you did such an excellent job for so many years. You spoke a little bit, Cabot.
Very nice of you to say, Mark. I know, being a fellow Otterbeiner, you can do that. Now, if you were from Capitol, I think you would have said, yeah, you worked and then you retired. No, that's not.
No, you want to be
love
here.
Cap. Gotta love you, Cappy.
I wouldn't have you in if I was from Capitol. You spoke a little bit about the promotions that NBC4 has done with Sunny 95. And one of the promotions that stick out in my mind is the Living Flag. And we actually did it twice.
Right.
So we did it once during the Persian Gulf War, and then we resurrected it a year after 9/11.
Yes.
So now that we're on the 28th anniversary of 9/11, walk me through, what was that day like? Because I'm sure it was as vivid as it is for me here working at Sunny 95. It's got to be pretty vivid for you working in television.
Oh, you mean the actual day?
The actual day.
Oh, that was it was when I speak of the things that I sat on the desk, and though I wasn't network, we still had to sift through, do the local angles on the stories, and first it was the federal FBI bombing the building in Oklahoma City, but by far was 9/11 was an event that will always change all of us. I think it did. I was at home, and I just happened to have the TV on in our bedroom. It was in the morning, and I just happened to flip it on when this thing started to break loose. And within 20 minutes, of course, the phone was ringing, and we're scrambling to get in because, again, the network takes over. As an affiliate, you kind of are sitting on the sidelines waiting for your times to fill, but by the same token, we were looking for stories to tie in why we ourselves are emotionally wrought watching the video. Plus, we were getting video that was not aired on television that was even more tragic and, quote, horrific. And it was a very difficult time. I remember it well. My son had just gone off to Wright State University. That same day, they had a report of a strange aircraft above Wright State University, Wright-Patterson. Everybody's, kind of flipping out about things. So it was a very tense time. I did a story on a woman from Delaware whose sister was never found. A very tragic story. She was one of the people in the Pentagon. And just that, the emotions of those days and that week, we all were very tired. By the time it was over, it did, bind us together as a community, as a nation. Sometimes it takes those things, unfortunately, to bind people. But that flag then happened not long after that over at the Crew Stadium. Yeah. and seeing all the people show up who just wanted to be a part of this, to make this statement of this massive human flag, again, was another one of those things that actually helps you deal with the tragedy as it's happening, is those opportunities to share together in the common experience of, okay, we're in this together. Where do we go now? Well, we got to go together, whatever we do. So, yeah, that was another. Yeah, we did a lot of things with Sonny over the years.
Lots.
Yeah.
So now I want to go to your retirement, and because I mean the business has changed so much in the past. I could even say 2 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Let alone you had a career of 30 years. At what point did you decide? You know what?
Well,
I'm done.
Yeah, it was. I always thought I might be leaving a little bit earlier. Like I said, I maybe return to music in some form. But I think it was just the fact that television, because of the internet, and the internet has changed the world for all of us, as we know, and in radio, because of the internet, because of the proliferation of cable and pay-per-view channels and all of that kind of thing. The challenge of local media is to hold on to some share of the audience. And that gets more challenging. And because as the share shrinks, bottom line shrinks. Bottom line is, revenues made from ratings. And if those are shrinking and you can't charge as much, your revenue stream goes down a little bit. So you got to find ways to nip and tuck and cut how you do things. And I talk about this. We made a lot of changes in the station, and we were forward thinking, probably the most in the city. We were the first to go to robotic cameras in the studio, for instance. But again, you're eliminating some people by doing that. And the same with the way the newscast was programmed. It went from 6 or 7 people in the control room down to 2 or 3, just because everything was done computerized. And I guess because of that, we found we had to search out ways to be effective and do a good job with the news, but yet also do it more efficiently economically. And so sometimes that meant less of the kinds of things that I loved to do. And I was much more into the human profile stories, or the inspirational stories, or the stories of really kind of neat new trends or developments. And sometimes there wasn't as much room for that kind of thing as there was to just do the facts, to just get the stories on. Let's go out to the reporter again at the crime scene, what kind of thing. It all had to do with a lot of things. It had to do with economics, but I just decided that things were really changing. Social media, we were expected now to suddenly write articles on the internet as well as do nothing that you in radio don't already also understand, with the fact that everybody's wearing more hats than they ever used to, right?
Bingo.
And so social media and teasing stories and Facebook and all that kind of thing. And I don't hold that against them. They're doing what they can to harness the audience, and I think that's great. But just a lot of things made it seem to me, after 30 years, I want to just go ahead and call it retire early, retire at age 60, and be able to enjoy life a little bit and figure it out as we go. So that's where we are.
So who do you confide in first, Colleen Marshall or your wife?
Well, there was a time when I would have said Colleen, as far as the business stuff goes, but always the wife, and now even more so the wife. Listen, in that respectful, the wife. Her name's Heather, by the way. And so, it's now it's totally. In fact, she says, "Don't you have some golf to play today or something?" She's not used to seeing me this much.
Yeah. Well, I hope it works that way, or else it'd be very creepy. But so I just curious, how often do you stay in touch with your former coworkers?
Not as much as I actually thought we would. I do. I still have lunch with Gail Hogan, who was a dear friend of mine. I still have lunch with Jim Ganal once in a while. Jim Ganal, of course, is over at Channel 6 now, but and Gail's such a sweet gal. Jim and Gail, they'll come and see the musical. They have in the past. They've come to see the shows. And I really have appreciated that. And I do stay in touch with Colleen. In fact, we just recently were chatting about some recent news events that have occurred, and because of our mutual friendship with Mike Jackson and what he's gone through after his stroke, we've communicated also. Other than that, not a lot of people. And one of my best friends was Mike Bowersock, who passed away suddenly from with the the brain aneurysm, and so not as much as you might think.
Mm-hmm. Well, Kiss Me Kate, we're bringing it back home here.
Yeah.
The Northland Performing Arts
Hope
Center.
you're going to edit some of this stuff.
Oh, no.
People will be outside. They'll be like catching some Z's by the end. But
No.
yes, Kiss Me Kate, great show. Cole Porter music. It's got it all, and I really would love to see people come out for that. It opens again on the, as you said so clearly, the 13th.
Yes.
Friday the
Friday the
13th.
13th.
The perfect time to open a show.
Wow.
Yes. And it runs through the next the 2 weekends.
Through the 22nd.
And the show times are 7:30 during the week, and then at 2 p.m. on Sunday afternoon, which is a nice way to spend a Sunday afternoon, and you're out of there by 4:30. And but I would love to see as many people as possible come out and support that show and that area of Columbus too.
And we want to see you again. We want to see more of you. So hopefully this continues. Northland Performing Arts Center. You can get tickets. Their Facebook page. You can find them under Northland Performing Arts Center.
You can also 262 show.
Yep.
So it'd be 614-262 show. And also, let me see.
And Pat?
Kiss Me Kate, Columbus614.com. You got all that?
There you go.
Kiss Me Kate.
Can we get a Chiron, please,
Kiss
on
Me
that?
Chiron. Now there's a
There's
blast
a
from
word.
the past. KissMeKate614.com. That's right.
Awesome.
So yeah, Chiron. Boy, you remember.
Do we have a bulk eraser somewhere? Is there a reel-to-reel? Anyone?
Yeah, I know. You know what's hard to find? A 3/4-inch tape player. You can't find those anymore. That's biz talk. Sorry, folks.
Sorry, we didn't mean to bore you there. But thank you so much, Cabot Rea, for coming in.
You are great. Great host. Good to see you again, Mark, and all the gang here. We got Mr. Trapp over there, Schaefer over here.
People all in this
All
room.
over
You
the
just don't
place.
see them right now.
They're good people,
Here
and I very congratulate you heartily on Sunny 95 and the whole station, the ownership group, for continuing to do very well in a very challenging time for media.
Very
So,
competitive. So.
Congrats to you on that.
Well, thank you very much.